James Cameron and Marge. Someone was going to take a fall. They couldn't have been more different, but somehow they were drawn together, like the tracks that make up a special effects movie. When they're brought together, that's when you see the whole picture. Marge knew she was different. She liked it that way. She also knew Cameron was different. She learned that on the Avatar trail.
A lot of people, as we talked about in this conference, see the critical point as the launch of Avatar. That's
really what we did together with James Cameron was to kind of develop a platform for capture in 3D, which is a little bit different. You know?
He acknowledges this is a collaborative thing that he's doing, and everybody gets to come along. Now, ultimately, he makes the call.
And Jim's, like it's been said, is very specific about what he wants, but if you can contribute something that he can see in some way services the film in a better way, he will absolutely adopt it.
He is very specific about what it is he's looking for, which is not to say that he isn't open to a new way of doing it or a better idea, and he doesn't really care where those great ideas come from.
And the nice thing also is that when we all settle on, and Jim says, okay, this is good, I like this, then you didn't go back and mess around with it too much more.
It was like a moth to a flame, and Marge was burning to get a few more answers. So she stood there and she waited, while Cameron picked up his Visual Effects Society Lifetime Achievement Award. Lifetime Achievement Award. Pretty heady stuff. But Marge didn't take a fall for anybody.
Just so
That's
the
unsure.
winners.
That was graceful.
We'll catch you. We'll catch you.
Let's step down this way a
Yeah,
little bit,
thank you,
okay?
thank you. The winner's gonna come through soon. It's by the way, you won.
Yeah.
Just won the best feature.
Congratulations on that.
So the winners will come through, and if you want to stay, I'd like to get your photo.
I'll just hang with them. Hit me with the light.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, sir.
Well, congratulations on that one as well.
Isn't that cool?
It's very cool.
From
Very
the
nice.
Georges Méliès. Yeah.
It's a beautiful trophy to add to your collection.
Well, it's actually genius because the first full-length feature was a science fiction film with visual effects
Absolutely.
in, I want to say 1902, 1903. So
And
a lot of heritage there.
it actually plays right into the question that I wanted to ask you, which relates to your discussion or when you received your award tonight. You talked about some of the fading technology of visual effects. And I understand that there's a lot of great innovations that have been coming down the pipeline, but
Right.
do you feel to a young student that's just getting started that studying the classics and maybe learning some of those old techniques would be of value to them, just for the sake of...
It's an interesting question. I think it's valuable to know where we've come from. Just like it was valuable for me to know who Linwood Dunn was and that he created the optical printer and what a huge contribution he made to a generation of visual effects artists before me, But it is sobering to think that all the things that I enjoyed so much when I started in visual effects, glass paintings and foreground miniatures and stop motion animation and all those things are pretty much obsolete now. I mean, really obsolete. I mean, I think people should learn it because they should have an appreciation of the craft. But in terms of actually practicing it, you'd have to know that what you were doing was for kind of a niche audience, or really unnecessary. It's so easy to do it digitally. With the exception of stop motion animation, which has been kept alive by people who continue to be very creative in it. If you look at Coraline and Fantastic Mr. Fox, this is not going away. People are keeping it alive. And I was skeptical about that. I was skeptical that it would have value. And you know what? I think both of those films are amazing. And would not have looked like that if they had been done in CG. So, I think it's definitely important to keep this stuff alive and be aware of it.
Absolutely. Another question. It's your lovely wife.
How do you do after the award ceremony?
Nice to see you again. And look, I matched you tonight.
Did we win someone?
Yes.
What did we win? The shot?
best shot.
which was the drinking shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then,
Because I saw it on the monitor
And
backstage.
then the last one, the best visual. It's a really long one.
Motion picture visual effects of the year.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
The big
All
one.
right.
Yeah, the big one.
Quick question. Just in regards to your whole collection of films, storytelling's always been prominent, even though every film that you've worked on has a great amount of visual effects works. Thinking about a young visual effects student again, what would the lesson be that you would want to give to them?
Here's what I find with visual effects artists, and it doesn't matter how young they are. It's something that happens. They tend to get stovepiped, focusing on a shot technically. And what they need to do is they need to look at the entire sequence and the entire film, and they need to think, what is this shot or this sequence that I'm working on doing for the story? What's it saying? You know, what's the shot saying? It's not just there for its own sake. It's there to tell part of a story. It's a bead and a string, you know, and I'm constantly trying to encourage visual effects artists working individually at workstations as part of a big team to think like a storyteller. Try to think like you know, the storyteller, you know, in the sense that I had to sit and write the script at some point. But eventually it all has to get interpreted by what they're doing. You see what I mean? And I found that by asking them to do that and empowering them to do that, it made a big change on Avatar, because they started to think about what the shot could be instead of what they thought it should be.
Okay, big difference.
Yeah, and that's a really fundamental thing. And if people can internalize that and act on that in a way that doesn't create chaos, obviously, you know, visual effects facilities need to run in some kind of organized manner. But you know, to use common sense, think like a storyteller, think like a filmmaker. That's why they were attracted to this stuff in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about the art reel. We've had the opportunity to speak with a few of the people that worked with you, and everyone's talked about how the art reel really helped them out.
Super important. Right. The first 2 years of the project was divided between two separate streams of activity. One was the design, which was done obviously with a big art department, and the other one was the R&D for the performance capture stuff. But after the end of that 2-year design period, we had all these amazing paintings and renderings. And so I put it all together into an art reel, what we call the art reel. It's about 11 minutes long with music and with voiceover stuff. I even brought in voice artists. We hadn't even cast the movie yet. I brought in voice artists and had them do dialogue and so on, and did a lot of dissolves. And it really gave you the feeling of the movie, the colors of the movie, and a sense of having been to Pandora, even though none of it was moving in and of itself. It was all obviously static, you know, renderings. But I think it really kept people focused on what we were trying to create.
Keeping people focused. Knowing where you come from. Thinking like a storyteller. He was speaking Marge's language. Yeah, they were different. But they were speaking the same language. The language of love. Love for making movies. And how that might get done. It was like a moth to a flame.